Hello, hello, everybody. Hello, my lovelies. Welcome to Friday. Welcome to my living room. And today I'm introducing the idea that self-love is vulnerability. Wow, vulnerability. It's a very daunting concept for so many people, myself included. But I've been practicing it more and more. And the more I work with the idea, the more I realize it really is rooted in self-love. Let's back up a bit and look at the meaning of the word. So the definition of the word vulnerability, according to the dictionary, is the quality or state of being exposed to the possibility of being attacked or harmed, either physically or emotionally. So if we think of that, of being in a state of being exposed to the possibility of being harmed or hurt, that is quite a daunting idea. And yet, if we then look at the breakdown of the word, vulnerability, vulnera comes from a Latin root word, is the Latin root word, which means to wound. But then there's the word ability tagged onto that. So how's that? That's quite empowering because it's literally saying, the word is saying that it's the ability to be in a space where we could be wounded or attacked. Hello, Cherise. Hello, my darling friend. Thank you so much. Cherise is joining us from Belfast. I am in England. And so, talking about vulnerability. So, why would one make oneself vulnerable? Why would you put yourself in a state where you could potentially be hurt or wounded by somebody else on an emotional level? I am talking emotional today. I'm not talking about making yourself physically vulnerable. And in this context, when I talk about vulnerability being a strength and being an expression of self-love, I am speaking about emotional vulnerability. It expresses itself in a physical way when we trust people and we choose to trust people that we know will be there for us. But I'm specifically talking about emotional. So what is it? Vulnerability is basically the willingness to open yourself up, the willingness to expose your inner self and your deepest feelings and emotions, the state of your heart to somebody else. It's the willingness to stand completely in your authenticity with your shield down and your heart exposed. Brene Brown, who is a world-famous author in the area of self-development, she says vulnerability is not weakness. It is our greatest measure of courage. And I absolutely agree with that. Absolutely. Hello, JJ UK. JJ says, the ability to allow that attack. Wow. Powerful. A choice of exposing that belongs to us. Exactly. Which feeds into exactly what I've just quoted Brene Brown saying. Vulnerability is not weakness. It's our greatest measure of courage. Because knowing that you're putting that power with somebody else, that they could attack, they could wound you, because you're opening yourself up, that is great. That takes great courage. So why that is what self-love is. First of all, it comes down to knowing yourself. Knowing yourself and loving yourself and accepting yourself as you are means that even when you open yourself up to an attack, knowing the risks, knowing that that person could choose to make a move against you, they could choose to reject you, they could really choose to actively hurt you. The pain of that rejection, the pain of an attack, is not the biggest danger when you have yourself and you know yourself and you love yourself. So in that space of knowing yourself, trusting yourself, loving yourself, even the worst case scenario of somebody really close to you using what you've shared with them against you or rejecting you for your own truth will not be as painful as it seems like it could be if you have yourself. If you didn't love yourself, that would be awful, because the power would sit with the other person to bring you your happiness. So as soon as they removed their love or gave you their judgment and hurt you, that would be debilitating. However, if you have self-love and you know yourself and you accept yourself, then that risk, it is a risk, it's there, it's real, but then the person would be rejecting the authentic you. And it comes back to, if I truly love myself and I know myself, and somebody rejects me for who I am, then that's their journey. I don't have to take it on. I've still been vulnerable. I've shown up as my full self in that moment. And I really believe when we make ourselves vulnerable, we're showing up fully. We're being fully authentic. An example is using stories from our lives. You know, we can interact so easily with people on a surface level. How are you? I'm fine. How's work? Work's good, thank you. How is life at home? Home is great. How are you coping with lockdown? Awesome. Lockdown's super, thank you. Keeping it all periphery, holding your own feelings, insecurities, fears inside of you and not sharing them. That limits the ability to connect with other people. It also limits our ability to be fully connected we are in every moment, which is an ideal way to live a really authentic life. And authenticity leads us to happiness and groundedness and self-fulfillment. So, backing up a bit, in that space of knowing yourself and knowing where you're at, it doesn't mean, vulnerability doesn't mean that you're walking around town making a mess with your emotions everywhere you go, dumping your emotional baggage in inappropriate situations. No, it doesn't mean that. What it means is that in a situation where there is an opportunity to show up fully, in a relationship with, be it a friend, a colleague, it could even be a group of people if you're in a role of leadership, there are always situations where there is that potential to show more of yourself, to show up in your authenticity in a fuller way than ever before, to share a part of your story, to share some of your real emotion, and to make yourself, to open up that channel for connection with the other person or people. What happens then is, because at the base of it all, we all have very, very similar emotional needs. We have the same need at the end of the day. We all need acknowledgement. We all need appreciation. We all need acceptance. And we crave this from each other. And that's what makes us social beings. Human beings are social beings. Every time I make myself vulnerable and share more of me, I form deeper connections with the people around me. Yes, some will reject me. Yes, some will use it against me to hurt me. But majority of the time, they don't. Majority of the time, it forges a deeper connection. I saw an amazing example of this yesterday. A woman that I follow, she works in this space. She is a relationship coach. She has clients all over the world. She does online courses very similar to what I do, but she's specific in intimate relationships. That's her specialty, is intimate relationships. So she deals a lot with the journey within as well. She deals a lot with marriage relationships, all sorts of couples. And she sent out her newsletter yesterday with a video in it, coming out to the world that although she's in a heterosexual partnership, she came out as bisexual, knowing that she would lose clients, knowing that she was opening herself up to potential attack. However, also knowing that by showing up 100% in her authenticity as who she is, she's able to serve the people who do stick around in a better way because she's fully present. Cherise says to share your weakness is to make yourself vulnerable. To make yourself vulnerable shows your strength. Absolutely, Cherise. That's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. And you use the word weaknesses, and that's true, because if we think of a weak point, there is a weak point in every being. So something that feels like a weakness is the vulnerability area. So where somebody could get you, they could hurt you. There's a little weak spot, in your makeup. Sharing that, knowing that it's your weakness, being aware of yourself, and making yourself vulnerable to the other person really, really does take a lot of courage and really does show strength. Indeed, Cherise. And what happens then, as I said, is it allows space for a greater connection to be formed. It allows the other person to know you better, and vice versa, because the minute I'm vulnerable with you, you know that it's safe to be vulnerable with me. And that just takes the whole relationship to a deeper level. And it makes it a much safer place in the long term as well. So not only that, it makes the space within a safer place. Because now you've shown yourself that yourself is worthy of your respect and your love, regardless of the threat that somebody else might pose. So you've said to your inner being, I love you and accept you as you are, enough to stand here and make myself vulnerable to these other people, because it's okay. Whatever they do with the vulnerability, I still love myself. And there is such great empowerment in that. For me, in this week, I've had this exact experience. I have really, really felt vulnerable. One of my programs has started running last week Sunday, so this is week 1 of the Glow program in its state as it is now. It's been birthing for ages, and it's finally happened. And I have a beautiful group of VIP founding members that I'm doing this journey with, and I'm not only leading the group as the author of the work, I am actually doing the work with them. So I'm participating as a participant and as a leader. And the work is profound. And it has really got me in touch with areas this week where I am not, it's areas that I have healed for myself, and I'm coming back to them, and I'm seeing that there's more healing to be done. And one of the things we did at the beginning of this journey is we co-created a code of conduct. One of the points in the code of conduct, as luck would have it, as the universe would have it, is vulnerability. One of the women put forward, let's be vulnerable with each other. And we all agreed. And in that moment, it was easy to agree to. However, in the week, as I've felt vulnerable, initially I questioned the level of sharing, because I thought, I don't want this amazing group of women to think that they're not safe with a leader or a guide who's this vulnerable. And that's when this whole topic really started unfolding for me, because immediately all the work that I've done and all the stuff that has brought me this far just raised its head and said, you know that vulnerability is strength. You know that in order to strengthen this group and to really show up and to really lead, you have to be vulnerable. So what did I do? I expressed myself, I shared myself, and I shall continue to do so for the 6 weeks ahead. And it felt amazing. It felt amazing knowing that I know myself and love myself enough to show myself in my space with no armor, no protection, as I am, to other women, and remember that we're all in the same space. We all have vulnerabilities. We all have fears. We all have perceived weaknesses, because often what we think is a weakness of ours is actually not a weakness at all. And it was such an absolute gift for me this week, and hopefully for the other woman as well. So I'm just going to stand strong. And then receiving the email from Layla yesterday and seeing her being absolutely so courageous and so brave in her vulnerability was just confirmation for me. I was like, yes, thank you, universe. This is it. Self-love is vulnerability, and now I know what I'm speaking about on Self-Love Friday. Cherie says, because you have shown your vulnerability strengthens the group as they have a safe space. Thank you, Cherie. That is exactly what I'm hoping for. That is exactly what I believe. And so, yes, let's see it play out. I do believe that will be the case. I want to share myself and my truth, and to live and walk my talk. So self-love is vulnerability. And at the end of the day, the reason why I say that is because if you've got yourself, you've got it all. If you've got yourself, anyone who does reject you isn't meant to be part of your journey anyway. Anyone who does attack you isn't meant to be part of your journey. If you've truly got yourself and you love yourself and you know yourself, opening yourself up, being vulnerable, being courageous enough to be vulnerable, will form deeper bonds with those that really are your tribe. JJ UK, thank you. We need to change our programming. It is such a strength. I absolutely agree, JJ. The only way for us to change the world is to literally change the world. So we have to be doing these things that are difficult, like being vulnerable with one another, and start creating a new culture, a new way of interacting and finding strength. Cherie says, always great to have a leader that is on the same level as the participant, gives the comfortable place to open up. Thank you, Cherise. I didn't think of that. Yes, absolutely. I have felt that before with a leader, actually, where I thought, well, I can't be this messy because they've got it all together. And actually, at the end of the day, she didn't have it all together. She showed me her, I always say it's like showing your belly. You know, like a dog. A dog has the ability to really inflict pain on a human being. And yet the biggest beastly dog will, when it trusts a human, roll over and show you its belly. It will be vulnerable. And so in that experience that I had when I was nervous and thinking, oh, this person has it all together and she's so amazing and I don't think I can share this stuff with her. But then she shared with me and I definitely felt that, Cherise. So thank you. Yes, I felt that safe space to be able to open up. So my challenge to you this week, there's always a challenge, is to find a space where you can be vulnerable. Even if it's, with one person or a group of people, whatever it is, find a space where you can share something of yourself that's on a slightly deeper level that you might not have shared before. And it might feel scary as hell. I mean, your heart will be beating, pounding in your chest, and go for it. Push past that. Try and understand the trigger, what makes you afraid of it. It's probably simply the fact that you've experienced rejection in the past, simply the fact that you've experienced pain in relationships in the past. Try and push past that because you're worth it. So this week I say, love yourself enough to be vulnerable. Show up who you are. Show the people around you exactly who you are. Let them see your belly and hopefully they respond accordingly. Hopefully you are shown the honor that you show. And thank you all for being here. Thank you very much. I'm keeping it a little bit short today because I'm on antibiotics for a infection in my tooth. And I won't lie, I am struggling a little bit. So I am going to do a few more meetings today and then go back to bed. Thank you very, very much for being here. Thank you for receiving me in my vulnerability. Thank you for sharing with me and connecting with me. And I wish you a beautiful week ahead. And I look forward to hearing from you and seeing you in the weeks to come. Ciao for now. Keep loving yourself and dare to be vulnerable.